Morning, everybody. John Spielka here for GAI Insights with Luda and Adam, and I'm Kaj, and we are giving you the Gen AI news briefing, rating news from optional to important, all the way up to essential, to save you time, where your little time machine to save you some time in your day to show where your attention should go. All right, I'm Kaj. If you could kick us off with the first article today.
Good, I'm just bringing up my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
We can now, because I just added it to the stage, which I should have done before. Sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Adam.
So the first one that we have for today comes from Apple, Anthropic, and some other companies who have used YouTube videos to train their AI.
I'm reminded of the old story about, oh my goodness, in the speakeasy, there's drinking going on. All right, Adam, what do you think?
Drinking at a speakeasy? So basically, if I understand this article correctly, there's the subtitles, which is all the transcription text on YouTube videos, and everyone is listed in the article from Apple, Anthropic, NVIDIA, Salesforce, and more use that transcription data, those subtitles, to train models, which, according to YouTube, is a violation of their terms of service. So what happens now? That's basically what the article's about. I would generally put this as optional. I feel like the only reason I might bump it up to important is that our leaders might want to just have awareness of this, right? Because if they're relying on models that are getting into trouble and there are things need to be redacted or they're too heavily invested one way or another, a rug could get pulled legally, or there could be enforcement mechanisms in place that cause them to have a plan B. Mostly, though, I don't know what they would do with this news, so that was a bit of a reach. So I was on the fence, optional or important there.
Luna, what's your sense?
I actually was, I don't know, torn or flawed. It's a public information. So to train the models in my book, yeah, I understand YouTube has rules and now positioning for some money coming back to them, right? Or something. So it's, I think I understand what they're doing, but I also think we like these AI models. We like them to be powerful. So where would they get data to be trained? This is the one of the places, and it's public data. YouTube, as you remember, was touted as a free for everyone sharing resource public.
But you can't commercially reuse it without paying. And
Well,
they're reusing
they're
it.
not reusing it. They're just.
And they are using it when I pay Anthropic $20 a month for access to their models, they are getting commercial value out of YouTube.
Yeah. They're not reusing it per se, right, John? It's got like all in this big bag of training data.
Derivative work that I pay for. That's a commercial use.
Yeah.
Come on, they've got billions of dollars. What they pay the YouTube people? Pay the creators. That's what you do. You pay the creators.
Yeah, but it's like fight after, going into fight after the fight. It's I don't know. I think it's optional news for our leaders. It's it would never end. Other people will find this happening as well. So I don't know, if we want AI mechanisms, AI tools, we need to allow training data to be gotten to, right? With some attribution to the authors, but I don't know how we're going to do it.
We can pay them. We can pay them. It's really easy. Give them money.
I think we are.
I don't get it. This is property that's contracted for, and they're not, it's like, if I have to allow somebody to go through my backyard because it's an easier way to get to the road. I mean, no. I mean,
no, I understand that there are payment terms that need to be figured out. My concern is we might kill a little tree or at its infancy, so they can't really pay all of them. So I just don't think this.
Luda, these companies that are building these models have billions of dollars. They're the most powerful companies in the world. They have money. They can give some of it to the creators. I don't get it. Anyway, I hear you.
No, I hear you. I agree that there should be some money going back and forth. But at this point, I think there should be, like for startups, we sometimes give them a runway. And I think I would be arguing for some runway. But, but for our leaders, it's probably optional.
All right, Paul, Luda's making the case for abrogation of property rights, not putting those terms.
Well, I certainly feel strongly on property rights. So, yeah.
All right. I was thinking to give this one an important just because we had a good fun back and forth on it. All righty. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one talks about efficient document retrieval with vision language models. So there has been a lot of discussion on this recently on X, on how this is helping extract a lot of good data from PDFs.
All right. Luda, what do you think of Cole Pally here? If I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either. I actually think this is important because so many retrieval and summary applications of Gen AI are out there or being tried. So the idea here is to speed up the processing of this data at the beginning. So how it's ingested into the LLM and get some visual elements to be considered in this ingestion. And as a result, the retrieval is much faster. So I think it's an important article to be aware of. You don't need to read it. It's on the longish side all through, but to be aware that you could use the methods and visual LLMs to get the faster ingestion mechanisms in.
All right. Adam, what do you think?
I had this as optional. I'm not. It's probably something to be aware of, but this will end up in products and end up actually making other things faster and better before our AI leader really needs to have it on their radar, in my opinion. It makes sense that effectively looking at a document and using the multimodal vision capabilities of an LLM would increase those capabilities and be more efficient. It's pretty cool. Like I was nerding out on it pretty good, but I'm just not sure if this is something that we really need to be flagging an AI leader with at this point.
All right, Paul, the Republican convention is alive and
Tiebreaker.
I'm feeling rather democratic today.
So, Adam, I didn't get a chance to go into depth. I know we've talked in other conversations about the problem of getting value out of images or tables and PDFs. And we've got one customer working with trying to figure out how to get value out of 100, 300-page PDF documents. Does this help with that problem at all?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, I do think it's still optional on the research thing here, but it's important for people.
This is a really important problem. Optional.
No,
Okay.
I'm okay
Given
with
that logic, I'm giving it an important. Okay, important it is.
important. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I'm okay with optional because Adam makes a good point. It's the people who are really working on this. They will incorporate this methodology. The reason for the important, it's the leaders. If they're aware, they would put their teams to actually do it, and it would be to their benefit.
All right.
Important.
Important. Let's give it an important. All right. Remember, important still, they can choose to read it or not. Okay.
Totally.
All right. Next, Ankaj.
The next is regarding an HR company called Lattice and how they treated AI bots like their employees. Interestingly, this company Lattice was founded by Sam Altman's brother.
Yeah, what do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get back to our format. So this is an article. Who's a writer? Jay something. talks about how they try to treat their bots as employees and it didn't go well. I think it's optional. I thought this was a clickbait article and not relevant at all for our AI leader.
Yeah, I want the robot to come back and say, this is such a stupid idea. All right. We're giving it the big O. All right. Optional next. Anka.
The next one comes from Mistral, and Mistral AI has unveiled CodeStrill Mamba and Matchstrill. It's two models focused, one on coding and another on mathematics.
Yes. And Brett Young, the author here, he's from Mistral. Is that right? Anyway. All right. Let's see. I think I had Adam on this.
Yeah, it's back to me. So, I mean, the headline there pretty much says it all. There's not much more to say other than, yes, Mistral has launched 2 new models that are specializing in coding and math. It's an incremental improvement. If you're looking for smaller models that can do coding and math, here they are. I think it's probably optional news, generally speaking. But it is cool that these are under the Apache 2.0 license. So this is open source material that's available for people to work with.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too that they're using the Mamba technique, which seems to be a lot more, compute efficient than just traditional transformers. Because of the way it scales. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So we're going for optional here. What do you think, Luda?
Yeah, optional is fine, I think, but it is interesting how it is being divided almost like into verticals, right, for these LLMs. So Mistral is certainly going after the heavy duty code generation, math, science, and specifically trains their models for those fields. And I think that this will be more and more of such verticalization. And I think they will look at the articles in software development and debt code, right? These will be very useful in that in those areas. So optional, but it is an interesting trend that we're seeing.
Yeah, and Ludo, on your commentary on the direction, yeah, so they feel over there, and we saw a couple of weeks ago, Adam, Claude really pushing the artifacts and others, which almost is more on the UI front. So we are starting to see some natural differentiation roadmaps here, which is expected.
Yeah, and what people would start doing is recognizing that this is good at coding, but this is good in UI. They will combine them into agents and the like that would leverage those capabilities in one system.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, call the math one when you need to do the math, right? Use the model you need for the job.
Yeah, or use Claude for the communication layer. So this will certainly, and distributed that we talked about yesterday, will allow them to build and find agents that already exist that are good at this and have demonstrated performance in a particular space. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with one of our foundation customers earlier this week, and they're a very, advanced adopter of generative AI and AI. And we're talking about very much this need for making sure you architect an environment that you can deal with multiple experts and multiple models.
Correct.
And that model lock-in is so early, that model lock-in to just buy, the Azure stack or something like that is really, really a bad idea in general because of the power dynamics, but in specific because we're so early in these markets. So really, really important point you're making, I think. All right, we're going to go optional. Lots of important things raised in here, but not landed. Okay, next.
Okay, the next one might be an optional one as well. So it's just for information purposes. Anthropic has released a Claude app for Android.
All right, on this one, Paul, I know you went to Kenyan and you actually have to read and write at Kenyan and things like that, so I know you can handle it, but I happen to give you the super short article here. What do you think?
Yeah, optional. The Claude app. I mean, the cars have horns. It's 100% optional. I think it's great that they are moving to different things. On my own phone, I have an iPhone. I've got 6 of the models on the very front screen, and it's been really useful for my personal learning that I constantly am trying different models here. But for our AI leader, absolutely optional.
Adam, what do you think?
Agreed.
Interesting.
I mean, look, they've already got it on iOS. It was sort of, a bit of a playing catch up. We expected this would be coming. It's good news for the Android users, but it's optional news.
I was going to make the case for important, and tell me if I've got this right. Is it the only model that syncs across platforms?
No. When
No.
I use ChatGPT on my phone, I can go to my laptop and log into the browser and see the same chats.
Okay. Then I had that wrong. All right. Then forget my argument for important. All right. I'm going optional. I do think this.
The next one that we have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the point on the Anthropic, the article mentions about that Anthropic is getting, like half about the user base that OpenAI has gotten, and they tout it as negative or slow uptake. I don't think so. I think it's naturally OpenAI was a sensation, so the 500,000 downloads was like normal, right? If Claude now at getting half about, I think this is great. People are curious and want to experiment. So I don't think it's negative at all, actually. It shows it's not quite the same, right? But it's normal. I think it's very natural.
I mean, it's certainly anecdotal from our learning lab each week here. I mean, we certainly saw 3 or 4 months ago a huge enthusiasm for Perplexity. And Adam, it seems like we're definitely getting some enthusiasts out there for Claude. So it's doing something right.
Yeah. I think it is great.
And just Luda, I'm looking at it now. It was 157,000 in its first week, compared to 480,000 in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
It's not that and it's done quite a bit more than that. So
Yeah. So
certainly not half and in 4 times as long. So
right, but OpenAI was a sensation. I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah, so you can't really compare, if that's fair.
No, right. But Claude is doing good. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next.
The next one comes from Andrej Karpathy, and he has introduced Eureka Labs, which is a new kind of school that is AI native.
Yes, and their first course, all right, is going to be building an LLM. All right. What did you think here, Luda?
I think it's great. He's following his passion. And I read a couple of blogs where he's saying, I've been doing this on and off all my life. I love doing it. I love building models. So he's combining it in this labs. There are many courses about LLMs and how to train it and whatnot. I don't know what his business model will be and whether he would charge for this or whatnot, but it is a competitive field in a sense right now. So I will monitor this and see what happens, but he's a great talent, and I expect a lot from him. So I wouldn't have started with training an LLM. I would have started somewhere else, maybe applications or something else. Yeah, but that's great. But optional. Sorry, optional. I think.
All right, optional here. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm really cranky today here. I mean, I think I surprise. I'm really getting I'm really getting tired of the term AI native. It's like saying internet native software application, or I mean, of course, AI is going to be in everything here. So that commentary aside here, I think it's optional, but I do think the educational aspects remain incredibly exciting for this. I know for myself, using Ethan's term, this co-intelligence has been a absolutely fantastic teacher for me personally, all these different things here. So I'm enthusiastic for all elements, particularly in the U.S., that help education, but optional.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mention that his notoriety comes from being releasing certain AI models for Tesla, and then being in the founding team of OpenAI. So he actually knows how to train the LLMs.
Yes. Yeah, and I think the whole notion of AI in education, people are underestimating. I mean, here we are in July. I would expect advanced schools, in fall in the U.S. anyway, in our, calendar would be really using AI deeply in their pedagogy. And you see folks like Sal Khan from Khan Academy really, embedding it right in the platform. And I think this. Mhm.
John, it's interesting though. I think, and I haven't dug in this course, but dollars to donuts. This is on important speeds and feeds understanding here. So this is how the engine's working. I think we also need courses on so much of what we talk about at GAI is how to think about this, how to apply it,
Yes.
which is 2 or 3 levels above this. And I actually haven't seen anything really on that course. I know we worked a little bit with BU last year, and they were considering a course on that for managers and directors here. But that's also, I think, a second lane that's important.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I are trying to develop some of it for Harvard Business School, right? So the course a little bit higher than that. It's about storytelling and construction and so forth. But yes, it is not context implications. All right. Yeah, no, they're certainly there, but it's just, I mean, this is going to change the face of education.
For anyone who wants to look, where the link there says LLM 101N, that actually goes to GitHub, which is a repository, and it's a 17 chapter syllabus, and it is. I mean, it might not be for a hardcore engineer, but it's hardcore. I mean, it starts with bigram language model as chapter 1, and micrograd is chapter 2. And you get into transformers, tokenization, optimization, inference, chapters 1 and 2. I mean, it's deep into how you actually build an LLM from the ground up. So amazing he's doing this, but generally this is optional, and none of those modules are actually built yet. It's just the framework at this point.
Oh, what a tease!
There you go, Eureka! All right,
like literally, you go to chapter 1 and it's like page not found. So.
That's because it's all about the article. No one thought they'd actually go use the product here. You radical.
I'm the only one who actually clicked that link. Yeah.
All righty, next.
Okay, the next and the last one for today comes from Financial Times and talks about how the future of generative AI will rocket fuel modernization of core legacy systems.
All right, Dr. Rappaport, what do you think here?
As I started reading it, I almost wanted to give it an optional just because they use this term Turing bots, which I'm not sure I like. But basically, Gartner has coined a phrase. I actually went to Google search and looked for how much the term Turing bot has been searched for historically, and basically until they wrote it into existence back in June, no one had searched for it ever. And there was a spike of 100 searches for it back in June, and then no one even searched for the word again until basically today. When this article came out. So it might pick up or not, but the idea is all of the various places within the software development lifecycle, you can have different agents or co-pilots that are helping with different tasks. And they use the term Turing bot as a nod to Turing, who basically invented the computer back in the World War II era, Alan Turing. So I'm not sure about the term, but generally I was not impressed with the article, and as I got through it deeper and deeper, it actually started to warm up to it, and I ended up on an important rating. The importance in a grander scheme of modernization and the impact that generative AI will have on our capability to take old Java code, old COBOL, and document it, create the use cases for it, modernize it, convert it to other languages, is just going to be massive. Right. And in this article, it talks about ATM machines. 97% of all ATM transactions still go through COBOL, which is a massively archaic language. I worked at a bank back around the turn of the century, if you want to call it that, the 2000s, up in Seattle. And we used something. It wasn't even hexadecimal. It wasn't base 16. It was base 15, and it was proprietary IBM code. and we were trying to build a new front end for our website that could talk to this thing, and it was a nightmare. Right. And, so these legacy systems that are running much of the backbone and the infrastructure of industry are just have massive technical debt. And the LLMs, and this article does a good job of showing the places where the LLMs will be able to help with that. So I could be convinced it's essential. I would say it's probably important because, if our leaders don't know by now that generative AI is going to help us get code up to speed, then they probably should be paying attention.
Yeah, I was the same there. And by the way, I think it's Forrester, not Gartner. Forrester.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Forrester.
About that. Yeah, I happen to think I was talking to some of my buddies over at PwC where I used to work, and I think this is a massive. These big companies, Accenture, PwC, so forth, they're looking for big jobs, which they do. I think this and data are the two big jobs that are going to happen for the services companies once they get their head around it. And to your point, Adam, there's so much of the economy, especially the government, that is running on old code. And I've heard from Warren McFarland from Harvard Business School that in the Social Security system, they've actually lost a lot of the source code. So you're going to need LLMs to go into the actual object code and figure out what the heck is going on. You know what I mean? So it's and just the military implementations, the government implementations, this is going to be huge work. So anyway, I was thinking about making it essential, except it's such a poorly written thing. We know it wasn't written by a bot because no respecting robot would do something this bad, And so I was going to give it an important because of poor expression, but not because it's not important.
I can work myself into important. I was thinking optional. There's nothing really new. We've highlighted the debt, code debt, right? Several times. We know there's a huge base of code that IBM is particularly interested in this because some of that is theirs. There's nothing really new, and the article is not very well written. The only grace, they mention certain vendors that are really pushing it, and they estimate the size of this opportunity. So for that, what may be important. So I can work myself up into important.
All right, important it is. Ankash, give us the big tote board.
Sure, John. This coming.
Yeah, no, I think this whole refactoring, redoing of old code, there's so much, and just the ability to, whether you do it for performance or for security or for documentation. All right, here we are. And we have 2 importance, 4 optionals, and an important. All right. So there we have it. Going to save you a lot of time today. Nothing essential, but lots going on. Everything from new announcements in education through refactoring old code. Any announcements, Adam, Luda?
Nope.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow when we hit the news again for Gen AI Insights. Bye now.